Am I the a-hole for refusing to use my Mills dream name for my baby? I, 26F, am pregnant with my fiancé's, 27M, baby. We just found out we're having a girl, and the whole family is over the moon about it. This is the first girl that his family will have in 3 generations, so it's kind of a big deal. Anyway, since we told his family 2 weeks ago, his mother, 64F, hasn't stopped bugging me about what we're going to name the baby. She gave a name, we'll call it G, that she says she's loved since she was a child. It's the name of her mother's sister who died before Mill was born, and she always thought it would be a kind gesture to honor the memory. Because she had 4 boys, she was never able to use the name. So she's asked us to use it. Here's the problem. G was the name of my middle and high school bully. I hate the name. Thinking about naming my child this name makes me feel physically ill. My fiancé likes the name, but he says he understands how I feel. He tried to talk to his mother about it, but he must have said that I had the problem with it, so now, she wants to talk to me about it. I tried to tell my fiancé that this is none of her business, anyway, but like I said, this is her first grandchild and the first girl that their family has had in, like, 80 years, so he thinks that we should at least hear her out. So, I agreed to meet with her earlier today. When we spoke about it this morning, Mill told me that it was always her dream to have a child named G and that if I refuse to name the baby that, she doesn't know if she'll ever forgive me. When I tried explaining my point of view, even offering a compromise of making a slight variation of G her middle name, my Mill started crying and saying that I was being irrational. She said because the name means so much to her, I should be able to get over my own personal feelings about it from a girl who was mean to me 15 years ago. Here's where I might be the I told my Mill that this baby is mine and my husband's to name and she doesn't really get a say. She screamed at me about how I'm trying to undermine her and I basically told her that if she was going to throw a tantrum, we couldn't have a conversation about this. Now, my fiancé is upset. He thinks we should just give the baby 2 middle names or just make the middle name G to appease his mother, but I can't do it. The main problem is that I haven't told him the extent of the bullying I endured. I don't like to discuss it, but G was essentially the reason that I ended up in a psych ward in the 8th grade, and to be reminded of someone so horrible when I look at my baby would be way too difficult for me to ever move past. I'm scared to tell him how bad it got because I don't want him to look at me differently. I know how it sounds, but I'm afraid. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that I wish my sister was never born? My 14M sister, 9F, is autistic and she needs to be looked after most of the time. She's not super low functioning but she's not high functioning either. She barely speaks and she has a bunch of sensory issues which makes her have a lot of meltdowns. Since she was born I've had to look after her and the older I get, the longer I am expected to look after her for. I don't have any proper friends because I never have time to hang out with them because I'm always looking after my sister. If I have plans my parents' plans are always more important. Even if I already had plans I am expected to look after her when my parents are busy. I was getting ready to go see my friend because we were gonna celebrate his birthday. My mom came in my room and told me I'd have to look after her so my parents can go to a restaurant together. We got into an argument because she'd known that I'd be going out like a month in advance. We were both yelling at each other and I said that I wish my sister was never born. She grounded me for a month and told me I was disgusting for saying that. I know it's a really bad thing to say and none of this is my sister's fault but everything would have been so much better if she never existed. It'd be nice to have a cake for my birthday and not have to give her 80% of it. It'd be nice to have time to see my friends and not have to spend all of my free time looking after her. I hate her so much she's ruined my life. My dad agreed with my mom and told me I'm a really bad person. Am I the a-hole for not serving a full meal at my birthday party? My husband and I hosted my 29th birthday party yesterday and invited 6 of our friends, 3 couples that we consider our core friend group. I had come across the concept of molecular food pairings a few months ago and was really intrigued by the idea. Some of the recommended pairings require expensive ingredients like caviar that I can't justify buying on an average day but my birthday seemed perfect. So that's what the theme was, a molecular tasting party. I put together a total of 15 courses but they were very small, just a few bites each. There was also a moderate amount of other snacks laid out and cocktails. My husband and I both had a really good time. We ranked the pairings, had drinks and played card games. I thought everyone else enjoyed themselves too. This afternoon, we got a text that was presumably sent to the wrong group chat that said, "Can we just be honest and say that the whole thing was weird? She's like this every year. The rest of us just go out. How has she not gotten the idea yet? It's rude." Another person replied, "At least last year she made an actual meal. I'm mad I even brought a gift." I sent WTF? Back and the whole chat has been silent since. I don't know what to think. It really hurt my feelings and I don't even feel like they like me at all if they talk about me like that but also, if I'm making people feel like they're forced to participate in things they think are weird, that's a selfish thing to do too and maybe they're right. Am I the a-hole for canceling my stepdaughter's Diwali celebration? I, 39M, live in the USA, but I am from India. I have 2 children, Prakyat, 11M, and Ria, 12F, the latter of which is my stepdaughter. We were bursting crackers in the lawn of our bungalow during the evening. There's an American kid in the next block, who's 11 years old himself, Alex. He's autistic. As we celebrated, Alex was headed somewhere with his parents. He rushed over when he noticed the crackers, asking us what we were doing. Prakyat explained it to him while Ria remained silent. He asked the kids whether he could burst some crackers himself. Ria said sorry, but it's not for retards like you. His parents had heard what she had said and were shocked, including myself. I asked Ria to make an immediate apology, but she refused. She had only said the truth and that Alex would hurt himself as he's autistic. I was extremely embarrassed, and even my wife asked her to apologize once, but she refused. I apologized to the parents who did not say anything as they walked away with Alex. I was livid, and asked Ria to get back to her room, that she was grounded for a week, cancelled the party for her, and said she wasn't bursting crackers. She became hysterical, telling me that was too much. But I did not budge, and in the end she was forced to remain in her room and is not allowed outside. I took Prakyat to Alex's house later with some Diwali sweets and apologized again, and this time they were a little more pleased about the apology. My wife says I went too far and that although she should not have said that, my punishment for a week and no celebration for her ruined it for her, etc. Am I the a-hole for saying I will call social services if my sil keeps leaving her child at my place? I, 30F, have a half-brother, Enzo, 40M. We're not very close since we were both raised with our respective mothers, but he has always gone out of his way to help me with anything I've needed. Enzo married his wife Steph, 33F, 2 years ago. Steph has a daughter, Alice, 4, with her ex but has sole custody, and Enzo and Steph have a 7-month son Teddy. I also have a 3-year-old daughter. Enzo and Steph moved to the city I live in when Steph got pregnant, and since then, Steph developed a habit of showing up at my apartment building unannounced. It became a problem and I talked to both her and Enzo about it and she stopped, until she gave birth. Now, she regularly drops by unannounced to leave Alice at my building for babysitting while she has to run errands or something. She's had her carpool drop Alice off at my apartment before. My poor housekeeper is a wonderful woman who has had to deal with Alice arriving unexpectedly while I'm out and I feel terrible about it. I've told the concierge not to let her up and to say no one is in, but then I'll arrive to Alice waiting in the lobby, which is not safe, and the concierge has told me I can't make them responsible for a child. Steph keeps saying she only does it when she's desperate, but I don't see how she can be that desperate to run errands at least twice a week, and frankly I'm not a nanny. If she's desperate she needs to hire some help. I've spoken to Enzo and he is always extremely apologetic and says he will talk to her, and I believe he does, but he also works during the day and can't police where she is at all hours. I reached my breaking point a couple of days ago when I returned from lunch to find Alice at home, having been dropped off since she had a half day at school. I apologized profusely to my housekeeper who had spent time playing babysitter and called Steph, no answer. I called her several times, and then Enzo, who was on a business trip and distraught over the situation. Steph eventually turned up a couple of hours later and I went ballistic. I said if she ever leaves Alice at my building again I will call social services, and I will call them every single time she drops Alice off with me until they do something. Because this is not my job and she is an irresponsible and neglectful parent. She burst into tears and begged me to help out with Alice, but I said no and reminded her I'd never said yes in the first place. She just kept dumping her kid here. Steph kept trying to guilt trip me, but I was too exhausted and upset about the situation to be receptive, and eventually my husband had to tell her to leave.